Welcome to Beyond the Drywall. This is the place where we talk about tools, tenants, and the truths about property management and construction that nobody else will say. This is not some guru corporate, you too can make passive income in real estate spiel. This is a gritty, real-world survival guide, presented in a humorous yet no BS manner. I'm John, and I didn't set out to be a property manager. In fact, 7 years ago, I was broke, homeless, and riding Uber around to manage rentals. Today I run 2 companies. This is my story. Being close to your workers can also have life-altering effects. My field manager, the same guy that I had been to his house many times and had become dependent on as a team leader, called me one day. He said that he was not feeling well lately. He mentioned that he had been losing weight and was not really trying. He also mentioned that he was thirsty a lot, and sometimes his vision was not good. I thought about it over the phone and suggested that he should start to check his sugar levels. I then ordered him a blood glucose meter, and the unit was delivered the next day. The next day, my field manager calls me back and tells me that he can't figure out how to get the thing to work, that the meter kept giving him error codes. So I agreed to come on over and see if we could figure it out together. I went over after the workday had finished. I then showed him how to use a pen lancet and how to place a drop of blood on the test strip. His number came back over 650. I couldn't believe it. I even did a second test. It was roughly the same. I immediately told him and his wife that the 2 of us were now going out for a ride. I headed straight to a dock-in-a-box. At the urgent treatment center, his results were still extremely high. They immediately hooked him up to an IV and started him on diabetes medications. The nurse there explained to me that he was very lucky, that you don't get too many readings in the 600s before something really bad happens. It was at that moment I realized just how fragile my business still was. You can never let your business be vulnerable to just one person. None of us are irreplaceable. Within a short time, my field manager was able to get regulated after learning to do insulin injections. However, I needed to now focus him more on managing people than actual labor. With both sides of my businesses up and running, I started to concentrate on just keeping what I had. It turns out, the megafund company started noticing that my guys were able to handle the more challenging rental unit turns, which after COVID was really saying something. They too were experiencing problematic tenants on a much higher volume and on a more destructive scale. In a way, this kind of served as a proving ground for what was to come with my own little property management company. Within only a few months, we soon became the vendor that got all the hardball assignments. We no longer did regular routine maintenance, as we were tasked with the more difficult apartment turns. The ones were vacated. Tenants had virtually destroyed the unit before they left. We are talking shredded floors, holes punched in every wall, doors ripped off, wild custom paint schemes, destroyed cabinets and appliances. What used to be a simple few $100 thing where you went in, patched a couple dents in the wall, did a little paint, maybe some carpet, and put in a couple new blinds was now going way up into the $10,000 to $20,000 mark in remodeling. And this was not the exception to the rule. This was becoming a frequent activity. Anything less was always a pleasant surprise. The mega fund company was becoming known for buying almost every available quickly turnable property in Baltimore and its surrounding counties within a 30-minute range. This actually put me at odds with my own smaller real estate investment friend base. So I really did not talk about what I was doing with everyone. The thing that this company was really good at was finding properties that needed a little more work than just lipstick, but not hazmat suit-level remodels. They knew exactly what to buy. They moved very quickly and gobbled up everything that was decent in the area. This made the market a little wonky for the smaller investor. So, in addition to standard apartment maintenance for my own company, we were providing unit turns and remodels for the megafund company. I did not have to worry about snow removal for them, but I did need to be concerned about the initial landscaping for the townhomes and the single-family units. This meant, in most cases, dealing with units that had been vacant for over a year, with jungle-like overgrowth and lots of tree branches. Once again, my equipment needs escalated. Instead of the smaller simple tools, we were now dealing with professional-grade everything. Space for all this stuff was also getting to be a bit of a problem. We had already maxed out the garage storage unit that we had in the city. We quickly needed to find another space just for the additional equipment, including A, 3 shop vacs, B, 2 table saws, C, a tile saw, D, commercial carpet cleaner, E, 2 heavy-duty power washers, F, 2 $1,000 paint sprayers, G, more big lighting sets for painting, H, wheelbarrows, I, long extension tree branch cutters, J, long extension ladders, K, long wand gutter, cleaning attachments for the power washers, and L, a sewer cam. At that point, I should have taken stock in the black and yellow tool company. For a tiny little company, it was ridiculous just how many trim finishing guns, impact guns, hammer drills, reciprocating saws, circular saws, battery lighting systems, chainsaws, and sawzalls that I now owned. All on the 20V system. Cleaning crews were now also part of the program. Making large runs to the county dump was now becoming a frequent activity. I'll tell you something that I bet you never thought much about. You know those big super hardware store van and truck rentals, the ones you rent by the hour? They are not just for Harry homeowner to get his new purchases over to the house. We were using them every week to move entire households of tenant remnant crap out to the city dump. Those things were loaded to the gills with several years' worth of unspeakable dripping wet nastiness. We are talking mental illness hoarder level stuff. Then we quickly cleaned the truck out for the next guy to move his shiny new couch and bedroom mattresses over to his new house. If you ever needed a reminder that you are still in the trenches, try renting a truck on a snowy winter day and fill it up with a shit ton of trash and take to the county landfill. Just try and traverse up that big-ass Gravely Hill with 3 workers sitting on each other's lap, just so you can quickly empty it out amongst all the seagulls, and then maneuver that big pig rig out of there so you can come back and do it again. Why am I the one doing it, you ask? Well, because the others crew members all had skill sets that were needed somewhere else, and because I also had the company credit cards and insurance. We were not yet big enough to be issuing out company cards. I like you, but not that much. That really is the whole thing about running 2 companies. Managing risk and teaching your workers how to mitigate risk. I always tell them, part of your job is to protect the company. Don't ever be afraid to back away from a job that has the potential to go sideways. We have so much work to do that we don't need to take on the risky jobs. And another thing. Don't ever let the customer or tenant see the nastiness behind the drywall. Always cover it up. Between the 100-year-old insulation, lumber, lime plaster, cob, and everything else, they might not know what they are actually looking at. Don't ever say the word mold. Unless you are a certified mold expert, you don't know what the hell it is. People always use the mold word whenever they see mildew. These are very different things. Always refer to anything you do see as a black organic matter. You would be amazed just how many times people immediately claim to fall ill and demand testing the very second a piece of sheetrock came down and a wall was left exposed. Then, you've got to test everything everywhere. I'm not saying that you should intentionally hide a health hazard. If there is something that is really there, it's always in your best interest to get the tenant out and to get the unit treated as quickly as possible. You don't need the owner's permission to start that process. The minute you find out anything actually is wrong, do the right thing as a property manager. The better it is for that property manager in court. All I'm saying is, tenants immediately think the worst and are looking for ways to make money for their inconvenience, especially if they are late on rent. With growth brings experience. Not all of them are good. Most of the unit turns we do now involve ripping out carpet and putting in LVP. Let me tell you, a good flooring guy can make you a little bit of money. Get one that understands how to repair subfloors, and you are good to go. The things I tend to outsource are whole house carpet installs, roof replacements, and multi-floor sheetrock jobs. It's not that my guys could not do carpet, it's just easier to let someone else do it. Besides, we do not get that many whole house carpet installs anymore. Maybe a stairway and landing that we can handle. Most owners, because they've been burned so many times on carpet, just bite the bullet one time. The other thing is sheetrock. We definitely do walls and rooms, but entire houses, not so much. If you've ever seen those guys work, it's amazing. They are different breed. Every time I've had to visit one of those projects, I'd go out and see a bunch of guys standing around smoking cigarettes. I'd walk away and come back 10 minutes later and the job is done. It's actually cheaper to have sheetrock guys throw it up, mud, and tape it than it is to have your own people do the same job. As my own property management company started reaching upwards of 100 units, I started getting hit with life experiences that tended to be more on the extreme side of tenant behavior. Stories that are along the lines of where the rubber meets the road. The kind of stories that show yourself just how much you are willing to go through to make a buck. Yeah, who am I kidding? I'm almost positive that I suffer from some sort PTSD at this point. I've just seen too much. Keep in mind, I am not talking the day-to-day normal stories, like squatters taking over a vacant unit in winter kind of stuff, where drugs addicts break off the door to the gas oven in the kitchen and then push up a bunch of blankets next to it so they can keep warm kind of thing, where the front and back door to the house has been barricaded so you can't just surprise them and walk in unannounced. Remember, drug addicts come in 2 flavors. The sleepy, almost comatose flavor and the totally fearless, in your face, watch your back kind. And just remember, most of the time that you come across them, you will be alone. You could call for backup, but you'd have a better plan than just the local police department. Oh, and remember, squatters have rights. I get asked a lot, why don't you just carry a gun? Are you familiar with Maryland gun laws? I actually am familiar with both, Maryland gun laws and guns in general. My father was not only in the military, but he was a policeman for many years after his retirement from the Army. Maryland gun laws are some of the toughest, most restrictive in the nation. Go figure. The place with one of the highest crime and unsolved murder rates in the nation makes it hard to be legal to carry a gun. Just remember, nobody wants to open the paper and read, "Landlord shoots tenant." It's just not good for business. I'm talking about the much more adventuresome experiences. A lot of times, these experiences deal with mentally ill tenants. On average, and this is not a documented statistic, but more of a personal observation, that about 4% of your total tenant base will be mentally ill. We are talking high-functioning, past the applicant interview, and no indications prior kind of tenant. Mentally ill tenants will chew up a huge amount of time dealing with their issues, which, by the way, are now your issues. I once had a tenant that seemed a little high-strung, but for the most part okay. After moving in, my field guys told me that he had really been taking care of the place. Cleaned up the yard, took some pride on the interior, even put a tall straw privacy fence around the yard, willing to paint, etc., etc. Now at this time, with everything that I had going, I personally was not able to get to every single apartment. I needed to rely on my spies and my field people. Maintenance was encouraged and rewarded for getting back to me after each visit to let me know what to be on the watch for. My leasing people were also supposed to let me know if there were any issues. Then one day I get this special request. A tenant wanted to know if he could raise a couple chickens. I said no. The tenant rented a corner row home with a small front and small backyard. The request came a second time, only this time it was supported by my field guy. What? No. Well, the tenant has a document from the city saying that it's okay for him to have up to 4 chickens within the city limits. Oh, Jesus. Let me go out there and check this out. So, I went out the unit to have a little look. The tenant and I had a discussion about his plans. I told him that I was concerned how the neighbors would view everything. And wouldn't you know it? Just as I was giving my big speech, a rooster starts screaming away from some other home in the back alley not 2 houses away. I just shook my head and walked away. 4, I told him. 4 chickens in a pen, in the back, out of sight. That's it. Unbeknownst to me, the tenant was selling fresh eggs to supplement his income. Also, unbeknownst to me, was that selling agricultural goods was his entire income. He had been living there taking care of a relative, raising things for resale. The guy had showed me his true colors when there was a problem with rent payments, and he left me 34 voicemail messages all throughout the night. I don't remember exactly what the issue was, but his calls and messages were non-stop, incessant. In fact, every time there was any sort of issue, the guy was relentless. He was always going to report us to God, country, and creation. Destroy us on the internet, yaddy, yaddy, yaddy. Any attempts to appease him were never enough. But when you saw him face to face, he was always amenable. Real Jekyll and Hyde kind of fellow. A while later, there was a plumbing issue. My guys went out and found a pipe from the upstairs bathroom had started leaking and part of the ceiling had come down. It happens with these older houses. I told the guys to make sure it was covered and not to have tenants present when they worked. They called back and told me that the tenant would not leave. He would not allow access into the back area of the house, and he was constantly asking questions about the work. He was also taking pictures of everything. I offered to put the tenant up in a hotel. He came back with that he had concerns about the animals. Animals? What, the 4 chickens? No, the dogs. What dogs? 2 of them. I see. Okay. Well, find a place that accepts pets. I will call them and make the arrangements. There was nearby motel that I called and gave them my credit card number, and I thought that was it. No, the tenant still refused to leave. He began pulling back the plastic, where they were working on the ceiling, taking pictures, and screaming that he knew what mold looked like. He said that he was now starting to feel ill and wanted to get tested. Another 35 recorded phone messages. It was so bad that I temporarily had to block him. Then came the call from the hotel. They wanted to let me know that they had called the police on the guest because he had caused a major scene in the lobby. The guest had now left on his own accord, but I was still getting charged. Today's takeaways. 1. When you have a small business, you are closely tied to your people. You can't move a mountain by yourself. Their concerns become your concerns. 2. Fast expansion can put you in the poorhouse. Watch your spending. Justify every dollar spent on equipment. And if you hire someone, make sure you need them. Remember, you are the one hiring, and you are also the one firing people if there is not enough work. 3. If you hear something strange, go out and investigate it thoroughly. If it reads wrong the first time, stick to your guns. It will make things be easier later down the road.